Hello, hello, hello. Episode number two. Is that right? 215. 215 of the This Week in WordPress show by WP Builds. Look at what the caption says. The caption says, go share this stream. So you'd better go share this stream. The best way to do that is to send people to wpbuilds.com/live. But if you were there anything more than about literally 20 seconds ago, the chat won't work. Now it will because I fixed it whilst the music was playing. I'm not sure if it's actually going to work or not, but let's see. But hello, nice to have you with us. I'm in the bottom right-hand corner because my tech is failing. About 3 minutes ago, my Mac crashed, and it probably will do it again. And I'm blaming Remkus because he is responsible for all the things that go wrong during today's episode. Hello, Remkus. How are you?
Hello, sir. How are you?
Yeah, really good. It's to be honest with you, this show it's on at the same time as Wimbledon, and I'm finding it difficult.
It's just a ball going back and forth.
It's not just a ball going back and forth. It's a lovely, beautiful yellow ball going back and forth.
All right.
And there's a chap on the court at the minute called Nick Kyrgios who is just, he's kind of watchable and unwatchable in equal measure because he's quite a character. Anyway, there we go. How are you doing, Remkus? Shall I read out your bio? Remkus is a WordPress veteran and performance specialist, scaling your WordPress plus WooCommerce sites and business over at Truer Than North. Is Truer Than North a URL as well as the business name?
Yes, it is.
And how's all that going? Because obviously, a little while ago you were working for a hosting company and you've stepped away from that. How's life treating you?
Life's treating good. Life's treating me good. It's so the site as it is now is still not the version I want it to be or what it should be, really. So there's a lot of stuff happening in the background, but I'm taking my time for it. There's no immediate urgency to have it the way I think it should be. So my goal is to have it done and ready by the reboot after the summer, essentially.
Nice. Well, it's very nice having you back on the show. I really appreciate it. This is the only bit of pointing that I'm going to get right because it's Birgit and she's directly above me on my screen. That bit's easy. The whole left-right thing's difficult. How are you, Birgit?
Well, hi, Nathan. Thank you for having me again. And it's good to see Remkus again and meet Mark. I'm good. I'm well. And I enjoy the summer and the little quieter month. Everybody's kind of in vacation, so the slack is a lot calmer.
Where you are? I mean, I'm guessing you're in America today because I've
Yes.
seen that the background before, and you were there, I think, once. You're working on 4th of July, which is like national holiday.
Well, getting on your show is not really work. It's actually a great pleasure to come.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's very kind of you. Anyway, let me do the proper introduction. Birgit Pauli-Haack is the publisher of the Gutenberg Times. She's the co-host on the Gutenberg Changelog podcast with Mary Job. She is also a full-time contributor to the WordPress open source project and a WordPress developer advocate sponsored by Automatic. And we had the pleasure of meeting one another for the first time in real world. In fact, I've met Remkus before, but I hadn't met Birgit before, and I hadn't met Mark. You see, look, I can't. Yeah. What there? Right, all of you, try and point at Mark. See how easy it is. Yeah, you see? Total disaster. Yeah, you got it easy, Remkus. Remkus, just point at Mark for us quickly. It'll crash in a minute.
You're working your way up, Nathan.
This is not going to go well, is it? This is Mark Westguard. Hello, Mark. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, Nathan?
Yeah, really good. Mark is the founder of WS Form. You should check it out. Really, go and check it out. It's amazing. It's a powerful WordPress form plugin that allows developers to rapidly develop forms in a no-code environment. He's also a proud owner of a WP Builds mug. I had forgotten about that. Where have you got it? I don't have one.
It's not here, Karen. It's probably in the dishwasher. But...
I hadn't read your bio. That's hysterical. He's a Page Builder Summit sponsor and had the pleasure of watching Nathan enjoy sushi. I'm not reading any more of this. Sushi in Porto during WordCamp EU. I kind of embarrassed myself a bit. We went to this WP Engine event, and I absolutely love sushi, and when I really, really, really like food, I really like to concentrate on it. So I sort of shut my eyes and get into it, and it was a bit like that scene out of When Harry Met Sally. You know, the one in
You
the
enjoyed it. You enjoyed it.
yeah, I did enjoy. The
Did you do
sushi.
the restaurant scene?
It was a bit like that.
My fault.
My lord! And I was at the same thing, right? So why didn't I hear that?
Yeah.
You were luckily you were elsewhere. Yeah, we've got so many nice people coming into the comments. Hello, everybody. Cameron Jones, all the way from Australia, joins us every week. Thank you once again, Cameron, for joining us. Maya. From GoDaddy.
Maya.
Hello, everybody. She's given us some good vibes.
Hello,
It is
Maya.
working. Andrew, I'm guessing you're meaning the chat. Thank you. That's good. It must be working because lots of people coming in on
Chatting,
YouTube. He's also saying, this is Cameron. He won't be here long, just watching while I'm at Muckus on the way home from a concert. Oh, nice. I hope you enjoyed your concert. And then Steve. Don't remember Steve before. Hello, I'm a regular listener in the car, but the first time here live. Oh, you're going to be sorely disappointed. But stay the course. Stay the course, Steve. I appreciate that. And it's a
Well,
hot
I
July.
just
Let's have a
love
look.
your positivity there.
I know. And happy birthday. Who's got a birthday? Happy birthday. Oh,
It says Monday, but the United States has a birthday.
I don't know why I read it as happy birthday, but you're right. Happy Monday. They do have a birthday.
Well,
And
that's going
then-
to be a really interesting show
Yeah, I'm not going to be
with
able
all
to
the
read.
brains.
Yeah. Hello, a beautiful morning in Connecticut, USA. That's from Peter Ingersoll. Anyway, let's get on with some WordPressy
Sure,
stuff.
how you doing?
I don't know how I do it either. Right, we have actually got some legitimate WordPressy stuff to talk about, and I've got it on the screen here, so let me just share it with you. First thing is if you try to get WordCamp US, I'm probably going to say WordCamp EU repeatedly because I just keep making that mistake. If you try to get some tickets this week, I hope you managed it, but seemingly they were not only were they in short supply, but they ran out really, really quickly. The limitation has been set at 650, which I think is an event venue thing. I think they've decided to go for a smaller event very deliberately. So they've picked a venue, and 650 is the upper limit. I went out, I don't know, to do like some gardening or something. Came back in fully with the intention of getting a ticket. No, all gone. So I'd like all the violins to come out at this point. So I, at the moment, as things stand, I shan't be going. But did any of you three manage to get any tickets? If that was the kind of thing that you were looking to do,
I managed to snap up a couple of them.
a couple.
Yeah, I'm taking my wife for the first time.
Oh, okay, that's all right then. I was going to say you're not like domain squatting, are you? You just spot yourself.
No. I was
Ticket squatting?
Yeah,
Selling them on
worth
Ticket
quite
Swap?
a bit now. You could sell them on eBay. But you managed to get a couple. Okay, so that I genuinely felt that I'd gone away from the screen for like just a couple of hours. Did you sort of have the same experience? Was it like, were they disappearing fast or?
Very quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
And somebody told me that they were on sale. So if I hadn't had received that Twitter message from somebody, I wouldn't have purchased one.
You got lucky.
I totally forgot that they were coming on sale. Are you able to get a ticket as a media partner, Nathan?
Yeah, so there are definite opportunities there. I believe that when the article was written by Sarah, there were also some micro sponsor packages still available, but they're obviously more expensive and there's a commitment to what have you. But I think there are certain caveats, around things like if you become a media partner, then yes, I believe you get tickets. Also, if you're helping out at the event, you're a contributor or a speaker, obviously that goes with the ride as well. Yeah. But at the moment, I am not, because I haven't, I kind of want to get the ticket before all of that. But I have applied, so we'll see how that goes. See if they'll have me.
I hope to see you there.
Yeah.
David Bissett, I think, did a check on how fast they're going, and he clocked it out at 82 minutes. So less than an hour and a half. Yeah.
So that is basically the amount of time it takes me to mow my lawn, which seems
How many acres is that?
It's like a couple of square meters. I take it very leisurely. Those tweezers, they don't do it quickly. You do one blade at a time, but it looks magnificent at the end. We are so off topic. Anyway, there you go. Remkus, I know, big proponent of WordCamp events. Obviously, you and I had a right old natter the other week and released it as a podcast for the tavern.
Yep.
Do you go to the US one at all?
I have in the last couple of ones, but not this one.
Did you even try to go to this one, or did you just no? Okay.
So
there is WordCamp Netherlands.
Yeah, it's a September, and we have WordCamp Netherlands. Pretty close to it. So I think I technically could make it, but I have no interest in making that sort of flying back and forth as racing like an idiot.
It's a
to make that
long
happen.
way for us, isn't it? You know,
So San Diego is what, 11 hours flight?
Yeah. If you get a direct,
and
I was looking at the flights, and it was 11 basically from London. Yeah,
and I can't sleep on an airplane, so that's pretty exhausting for me.
Okay.
So I went like, I'm just going to let this one pass. I'm waiting for them to return to the East Coast.
I suspect that WordCamp Netherlands will be bigger than WordCamp US. Actually, 650 is still quite a big. That's about the size of London. I think
we have the potential to be up there. Yes.
Yeah, interesting for the first time, maybe. Anyway, the point being, if you were looking to buy some WordCamp US tickets, they're sold out. But I suspect, as Mark alluded to, I think there's probably going to be a few people who have bought ones that maybe they don't need. You know, they've bought 2 or 3 and then decide that other family members don't want to go or what have you. But they've all gone.
I would definitely suggest to watch the tickets page itself when they come available, and you can also subscribe to their notification. I think they're planning to send out when more tickets are available again.
Kind of cool that it's that popular, though. Like, it sold out, akin to a concert. Somebody famous. People are actually
and it's just
clamoring.
for software,
Yeah, it's pretty unique.
What is the normal attendance figure for US?
The normal is about 2,000.
Okay.
Yeah,
so it's quite significantly smaller.
Yeah, really, really much smaller. Sarah Gooding, writing the piece that I just had on the screen a minute ago, she said it was capped at 650 tickets. Organisers said that this was to allow for adequate social distancing and to give the team better flexibility in case changes are necessary. It's happening at a place called the San Diego Town and Country Resort, and it actually looks really nice. I've got to say, it looks like a really, because it's not like an event arena, it's just like a resort, so could be an interesting angle. You'll be there, Mark. I'm guessing you're going, Birgit.
Yes, I got a ticket.
And
for me, it's not an 11-hour flight, so it's merely a 6-hour flight.
yeah. I was thinking I might do a combo of swim and walk if I did get a ticket, but I probably need to set off about now, I'd say. And
from what I hear from the organizers, well, actually they there was still a contract for St. Louis, but they didn't want to let them out of the contract, so they had to cancel that contract, and then they were in competition with everybody else in the United States. Wants to do a big event again in 2022. And so they didn't get the flexibility in maybe canceling when there is an uprise of something. So they went with a venue that were a little bit had more leeway in their contracts. And so I think that was where the cap comes from.
I don't organize. I don't organize any WordPress events, but so I was chatting to somebody that does, and this is for a London event, and he was saying that the price of just hiring a place for an evening for like a WordPress meetup is now literally mouthwatering. Your jaw is on the floor. I think that just absurdly expensive. I mean, literally, you can't make it up. It was in the order of £40,000 for an evening.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
So what? Just come to the Netherlands, September 15th and 16th. You'll have a lot of fun. Just skip all that. Come over here. We're doing it in a zoo, so it cannot get any cooler than that.
Yeah.
Now, hang on. You can't drop that bombshell and then leave. What? In a zoo? Actually, in a
Yes,
zoo?
in an actual zoo.
What? How does that?
Well, now you can interview some giraffes about WordPress. Hey.
I don't know what their knowledge about this topic is, but yeah, you could.
So, what,
Well, just
is that just to make it just a unique experience? I mean, I'm guessing you're not literally like near the animals. There's probably some sort of conference bit or.
So you actually have to walk through the main entrance. You actually have to walk to the area through the zoo. So yes, you are literally inside the zoo amongst the animals. And then there is a sort of so they have a restaurant and a conference center type thing in the middle of it, and it's large enough for us to hold a very decent WordCamp.
That's absolutely spectacular. You've really raised the bar there. I'm going to suggest that next time London is organised, that we do it underwater. I'm not happy with the you upping it to the zoo. I think we'll take it to the next level. Yeah, the sub aqua World Cup. Nobody understands the thing, but it'll be fun. Right. Anyway, WordCamp US tickets gone. Keep your eyes peeled if you fancy getting some of those. Right. This is a nice piece of news. Actually, I think this is really cool. Again, on the WP Tavern, Sarah Gooding, writing WordPress theme team, releases new plugin for creating block themes. I mean, the title says it all, really. There is now a plugin which you can download, and it uses the block interface, I guess. Well, actually, there's quite a lot of the settings which are not inside of there. But if you're the kind of person that wants to tinker with creating a block-based theme, it's pretty tricky stuff. There's quite a lot of new tooling and things that you've got to do differently. And so now we have this new tool, which when my computer crashed earlier, it's taken the link away. There it is. It'll probably be that one there. Block. It's called Create Block Themes by WordPress.org. It's got three weeks under the belt at the moment, 40 installations only at the moment. I confess I haven't played with it, but I'm going to guess that, Birgit, you have.
Well, I actually have not played with this one, but I played with the 3 other ones that are already available before this one came out.
What's the difference? Why this one? Were the other ones just done by just development houses, or?
Well, one was done by Carolina Niemark,
of course,
who at Full Site Editing, and she set it up a little bit differently because she's an educator and she wanted you to have the experience to either download an empty theme and a regular theme with a few of the features in play, and then she also has an advanced theme builder where you can actually, when you download it, you also have block patterns and some block variations and styles. So it's more like an educated system and has a few things. And this one here is more for those who want to design themes and then give the files to the developer to make it around. And also, it uses the full site editing place, but it also combines the changes that are in the user database. So when you change a theme, like the styles for certain things, they are stored in the database as a user kind of a system. But when you want to export the theme, you need it all in the theme JSON in the settings file if you want to upload it to someplace else. So that does that as well. And you can actually have an empty theme. The only thing that I find missing, and I'm not only one, I think Sarah said that in her article as well, is that you can upload a screenshot. Yeah, so you can download a full theme, and it kind of you see it from the other themes in your But and Jamie Marsland, he did a nice little theme development thing as well. Yeah.
Was that
There's
the review
one from WP Engine as well?
Yeah. Okay.
WP Engine. Well,
The
that
Studio
goes
Press
really
one.
far. Yeah.
They're all at it. Everybody's at it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
But this one looked really nice.
Yes.
Kind of interesting to see it. I'm just going to read quote. It says, today, a group of 8 full-time sponsored theme team contributors. So I don't know if that means that they're dedicated full-time to this. as a thing going forwards, or that's just the amount of time that they spend in a typical week full time. And the idea, it says, is that users can design their own themes using full site editing features and then export their finished creation as a theme that can be installed on any other WordPress site. As I said, the settings are currently in the current WordPress UI, but at some point the intention is to put all of these settings into the block editor and have it all done there. It does say, I can't remember who made this quote, but they said it's useful for sharing your designs between multiple sites or users. But if you're just building a site for yourself, you probably don't need it, but worth exploring.
Yeah,
Anything on that?
Yeah, that comes from an article that is on the Make blog by Ben Dwyer, who's on the theme team. Yeah, it's a
Thank you.
nice little tool, and it's great that it's is actually an official WordPress plugin. So there is some future way that it will be expanded. In
Yeah, it's
future
nice.
times.
Just
Yeah,
making it
yeah.
much more straightforward for everybody, isn't it?
Mhm.
Mark
this
or
is,
Remkus, anything?
Yeah, I think this is going to be great for just accelerating the number of themes that are available, block themes that are available. I come from the classic theme development background, writing themes from scratch. I would use a kind of a bootstrap theme and then write code on top of that. But the fact that we can now use the block editor as a means by which to design our themes and then export them like this, I think is just going to make things so much easier. We're not going to be starting from scratch and working our way up with code. This is just going to make building these block themes a lot quicker, and hopefully this will accelerate the number of block themes that we see available in the library. So I'm all for it. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I am so nervous to click this button to share my screen and not share my screen, because it literally did make my Mac reboot a minute ago. I'm going to click it. Well, we're in luck.
It works.
Yeah, well, don't count your chickens.
This time, no.
Anything on that, Remkus?
So I think the what Mark said is essentially what my feeling is, that this is one of a couple of solutions in this direction, like Birgit mentioned. I've played with the StudioPress version. I'm aware of this one. I hadn't played with it yet, but whatever the type of implementation is, it doesn't really matter. What Mark just said, though, if this brings in more people starting to work a new way, that's a hell of a step forward, because we were severely lacking anything like this for the last couple of years since we've had the block editor. And I know full site editing is just, it's still semi-beta, whatever they're calling it. But it's one of those things people need to have if they are to understand the potential of all the different elements that we have, right? The patterns, the blocks, the full site editing experience itself, which is unfortunately still to be hashed out on many different components. But if most people work very visually, if they can't create something and have something to start with, some sort of boilerplate, some sort of framework, something that kicks off there from zero to something, that's going to help everybody understanding what the potentials of this are. Because theme.json is a wonderful solution, but if you're having to do that in code and you can't translate that into what that looks like, what that means, what that offers, what that builds, you're just punching code, and punching code is not exciting.
That's a really
speak for yourself.
Really good point. Yeah.
No, I mean, I'll rephrase. Just punching code and not understanding its consequence is not exciting, because you're in your silo and you do what you think is right, but you have no way of getting feedback in you while you're doing it, nor is the chance very high that at the end of what you've done, the end user will go like, "Hey, this is what I wanted."
I would imagine that there's a lot of people out there who would be quite interested in creating themes, who just were completely put off by the old way of doing things, and the new way of doing things equally so. And because they're just, they don't have those skills, they don't wish to learn those skills, and it's too much of a staring up a cliff face Whereas now, hopefully, the cliff face has just got quite a bit smaller, and it's more of a visual thing. So maybe it'll just bring in a whole raft of new people. You can see a kind of an industry opening up here as well for people who they've got the real flair for design, but they don't really want to code, and they can put together a cracking theme, or at least they hoped that they could. And now, for the first time, maybe this is in reach, and so maybe a new career is opening up for people who previously would have just run a million miles away because it wasn't up their street.
And at the very least, we get a hell of a lot more people experimenting with it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And in that notion, there's a second piece from the design team that also will probably help with that process in getting more people interested in it. Is the that they open design the themes that you can open source the design of themes now through Figma and the WordPress space on Figma. There's on make.wordpress.org/design. The first article, I think, covers that. You need to know how to use Figma, but you can export those designs as well. Yeah, so I know that Automatic and some other theme designers have open sourced their designs there. So even if you're not a designer, you could still, with those two components, kind of start out with theme creation.
I'll just quote at the end because there's another piece to be added into this. Sarah says, and I quote, "The Create Block Theme plugin makes designing and authoring a WordPress theme more approachable than ever before." That's kind of what we were saying. It has the potential to rapidly increase the number of block themes available. And then she goes on to say the training team, and I know we had, I don't know if we still do, but Courtney was in the comments. The training team is currently working on a course for Learn WordPress, Learn with a capital L, that will teach people how to create block themes using this plugin. So hold tight, there will be some tutorials coming around if it's still a bit too far. If you like the idea of learning with some materials as opposed to trying it yourself, then hold on tight, and hopefully there'll be some stuff coming through soon. You've got something there for me, Remkus. Is that the piece?
That's the link to the
open source.
Open sourcing theme designs. It's,
okay, I shall pop that on the screen. Let's add that in. Make.wordpress.org/ I'm not going to read that out. It's going to take me too long, but there it is on the screen. Thank you for that. I'll add that into the show notes for tomorrow. Perfect. Okay, very cool. Very cool. Sticking. Right, I'm going to press the button again, everybody. Let's see if it crashes Nathan's computer. There we go. Very good. It was actually It was getting Remkus onto the show that crashed my computer. We'll leave Remkus there. We won't fiddle with him in case that goes wrong again. So this may not be the most exciting piece of news. I think it's kind of cool. Gutenberg landing page has launched. Best thing to do is just to show you, I suppose. So this is now what you'll see if you go to wordpress.org/Gutenberg. And here it is. And it's basically a WordPress install and you can start to fiddle with it. And, if you want to change the text, you can start to do that, and you can make things calm, and, you can add in, look at the blocks and see what the inspector over here tells you, and start to get an idea basically of how these things are put together. So, for example, maybe if you've not played with Gutenberg before, this little configuration of icons and text, you might be curious, how would you even do that in the block editor? Well, this is how you would do that in the block editor, with cover and some groups and some columns and some stacks and some images and some paragraphs underneath. And it just shows you how you might lay things out. And it's not the most adventurous page in the world, but at least it gives you some sort of head start. And
nor is it the most performant one.
Say again, is it not?
No, it is absolutely not.
Let me click refresh, reload. That's oh yeah, it took a little while there. You're give us some stats on that in a minute. You go away and run some lightning tests on that, and you can tell us what it's like. But just a really nice idea. I do like the idea that you go to a web page and the tool that you're being sold, if you like, is right there for you to use. So, for example, I don't know, if you went to Webflow or something, I don't know if you can do that on the Webflow website, or if you have to sort of launch some kind of demo. It's just the idea that there it is, right front and center, start to fiddle with it. Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah. The only problem I had with this is I started editing it and then I wasn't able to read what it said in the first place. So I was just changing everything on the page.
Yeah,
It
and
was fun. It was fun.
somewhat annoyingly, I'm
No
finding
problem.
this rather annoying because I just want to deface this page, and then click publish. But
Yeah.
sadly, for reasons that I can't possibly understand, the publish button has been disabled. Can you imagine? What this page would look like within 2 minutes if it was left with the publish button was there? That would be so funny. Any thoughts on this, Birgit, Remkus, Mark? Carry on.
Yeah, I find it really interesting, and the new design is really fabulous. Yeah, they did a great job on it, because it was kind of 4 years. It was really stale, and this is really showing off the newest features on the block editor. But it also shows that you can actually use the block editor outside of a post or a template editor, and there are quite some additional implementations for that. For instance, the pattern creator on WordPress.org to submit your own patterns also uses the block editor for a different purpose, for a different custom post type. And I know that Tumblr and Day One, two products from Automatic, are actually implementing block editor for their apps. So there are quite a few ways to do that outside the WordPress or outside the editing, the post edits or site edit context. So I really like that, and I hope we see more examples of that. I know that some of the plugins actually do it as well. So there is quite a bigger idea behind it. Yes.
I'm showing my screen on a really tiny dimensions, and it all starts to look really cramped on my screen. But I think if you're on anything half decent monitor size wise, the list view isn't quite so annoying as is on here, because it does tend to sort of misshape the website when I invoke it. But yeah, it's nice, really nice. Yeah, very cool.
Nice to see that the block editor has developed this far that they're confident enough to now show it on the front end of the website, and I think that's testament to the work that's gone into it. I love that you can just immediately start, like you say, you're hacking the page and you're using the block editor, and you realize how easy it is to use now.
It's very minimal implementation, isn't it? They've gone for text and some icons and a few buttons, which is quite a nice way of doing it. If they'd have gone for really complicated overlapping layouts, it would have been really difficult to understand.
I think that works. That's great.
It's nice.
So I think the vast majority of people now jumping to page builders are fully not aware that this is actually possible. That you can actually build it for a very large percentage already inside the block editor. And I really like that this particular iteration of Gutenberg demonstrates that. But like I said, I would love to be it more performant.
Tell me about this particular page. Did you go off and run any stats on it, or did you?
I just ran the performance insights, the network tab information, and the lighthouse on it inside of Chrome. And the easiest one to share on Lighthouse is the performance is a 78, which is orange with red letters. So I think that sort of gives it away.
Yeah, I wonder what the bottleneck there is, because I've been building a whole variety of pages, and you can easily get 100.
Would that be expected with the actual layout editor running alongside a regular web page?
Good point, right? That is a good point. If we could somehow
shouldn't matter.
Oh,
shouldn't matter because
the
it's
preview
the output
is disabled. Yeah,
it's the output that is saved, and you're not doing anything with that. But it's the first contentful paint and speed index that are essentially the slowest ones.
You're actually loading the editor itself, like the admin page, and not the front end of the editor.
What happens
what's
if you do
created.
click on this? Does it take you anywhere? Oh, just back to WordPress. There we go.
So, but yeah, it could be faster, certainly.
So I'm mentioning this because one of the complaints about the Gutenberg editor is that performance hasn't been at the heart of its development yet. It's starting to in certain areas. It's still not just first thought. And I think it needs to be first thought. There's just so much optimization that you can do that needs to be part of the core of how Gutenberg and all of its elements, from patterns to, how they need to be developed. And I would like to see the challenge being met in terms of if we're demonstrating what it can do, and for me, that's an obvious thing that you also need to be including.
Well, when I look at the other page builders, and if I load them in the admin, they take ages compared to Gutenberg. So that is the comparison that I have. And on the front end, I have not seen any considerable slowdowns but that's just me doing normal page stuff. There's nothing.
I've not
really
seen any
complicated
considerable
about that.
optimizations either.
Yeah.
So slowdowns, no. If you're very, let's say, if you do a relatively light build in the page in Gutenberg and you publish it, it'll be relatively more performant than any page builder. That is correct. But that's still not to say that they're still missing out on a lot of stuff that should be automated in favor of performance.
It's still an active development.
One of the stats that we're going to discuss is the percentage of what WordPress has of market share, what WordPress has as the percentage of CMSs running. The percentage of sites running a CMS, and what percentage WordPress is having in that. So if you take that in mind, we have a huge impact on the web. And every single kilobyte is pushed over that line. And just because we have broadband now, for the most part, and I do mean for the most part, it doesn't mean we get to not care about that. Because it still has a huge impact once you start translating every single thing a site loads, how much of it loads, how many times it loads, when it loads, and all of that is an impact which you want to minimize always.
Hey, Mark, so I'm going to press the button again. It's fine. It's living.
You did it.
Yeah, we're fine. So this is the Gutenberg site, right? And we're all thinking it's a really nice idea. Would you ever, because there's your website, there's WS Form, that's the homepage. Would you ever, because you've got the video of somebody doing exactly what the Gutenberg page that we've just been looking at could be, is that the kind of thing you would ever throw on a homepage of your site, like a sales page? Like, look, here it is, start playing with it, kind of implementing.
I mean, I have a demo at the top right where you can spin up WS Form actually in a WordPress environment.
Got it.
So that's a better way for us to do it, only because we have a lot of integrations that we demo, and the WordPress admin is just pretty heavy in itself. It's not something I would want on the front end. That we're talking about that Gutenberg page that you are loading an admin around it, which on a normal homepage you wouldn't have. And our editor, although it loads incredibly quickly, it's milliseconds to download it and run it. It's nothing like these site builders, but it's still introduced some slowdown. So I'm very conscious about my page speed scores and things like that as well throughout the website. So we actually don't even load that video on mobile. It doesn't even download, just to make sure that people on mobile aren't downloading video. But we just find that's a great way of demonstrating what the product can do, because there's so much it can do.
Yeah, the video is kind of nice because it just shows you the best version of it as well, doesn't it? I think, as opposed to if you stray onto the Gutenberg page, you could.
I think there's always a danger with having a product demo like that somebody may just find something tricky that they don't understand without it being explained to them, or without them looking at a tutorial, and it could deter from the product. So that may be a downside to that Gutenberg page. I don't know, but I enjoyed going to it and just playing with it and
having a little bit of a play. Yeah, that's right. I just the idea that you can just fiddle and see
Yeah.
see the way it was made.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on a little bit, because last week we had a bit of a story about Matt, and it was all centering around the 5 for the Future thing. And this is not new, by the way, just so that you know. This was released on May the 20th, but I thought now would be a good time. The dust has settled a bit on that story. The idea of defining what the 5 for the Future pledge would look like. So if you don't know this story, basically 5 for the Future is the idea that you would give up 5% of your company's, let's just say resources, time, whatever it may be, and you would push that towards the WordPress project. The intention being that 95% of your time is there to be, to turn a profit and what have you, and 5% would be giving back. The idea that if everybody did that, then the project could be pushed forward much more rapidly. The problem is there's no kind of like solid definition of what a contribution that qualifies is. So the word that Josefa here is using, she talks about props. It's not really a word that we use much in the UK, but I think props basically means like, thumbs up kind of thing, doesn't it? It's like, yeah, well done, you've done well, I give you props. But just the idea of, let's figure out what gets the props and what doesn't, what falls within the purview, because it's got to be a lot wider than writing code and committing to WordPress.org.
Yeah, this very much sounds to me like all animals are created equal, but some are more equal than others.
Well, in that, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, I was going to say, because where does props start? Who gives props? Who is the keeper of props? Who is the recorder of props? All of those questions.
I'm nominating you, Remkus, frankly. I think you should be this. You have all the props to give away.
Don't make me swear on this podcast. But that's one
point, though. And I had I'd completely sidestepped in my mind. That hadn't even occurred to me, really. Good point.
And that's one part. The other part is, where does it start? Because those people that are... So the way I got into WordPress contributing was translating. The Dutch translation at the time was an absolute mess. I figured out how I could take over to streamline it. I did that, and then I started doing that. So a lot of what I was doing was partly at that time we still had to manually create the translation files, put them in SVN, and then the next release build would release a version of those included. Now that's all automated, but that time was never registered anywhere. So was I not contributing? And then if you're actually doing the translations, anyone putting in maybe an hour a month, putting in some dedicated time contributing in languages, does that not contribute? Because you don't get props for that.
Yeah. This
is examples. This is an example. There's hundreds of examples of like this, which you can't record, which are undoable. But are they dismissed now? Because
Birgit, do you mind if I just add to that quickly?
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So a couple of thoughts on that. The first one is, I'd missed that piece, so that was good. I thank you for that, Remkus. Yeah, who gets to dish out the rewards, if you like? The other thing, I suppose, there's going to be a proportion of people who don't want the props as well. I'm just throwing that in, who are just doing it, and they're doing it, and they actually just want to stay under the radar and do it because they've realized that maybe they're scratching their own itch, or maybe they're just doing it because they see the need elsewhere. But I guess when you get up into the sort of corporate level, the big companies and what have you, there's probably going to be quite a lot of hours going into it, and I imagine there would be a bit of quid pro quo there. They would want to potentially be seen to be doing the right thing, and so figuring out what these things are, whether it's translating, organizing a WordCamp, whether it's I don't know, the list could literally be thousands of things long. Figuring out what they are, and do they all have the same value? Is it like some sort of egalitarian system where if you commit to WordPress core, that's exactly the same as doing 1 hour of that is the same as doing an hour of translation, or does there have to be some
that's a can of worms I don't ever want to see opened.
Yeah.
No, but you can argue that if a country doesn't have, if a locale
Yep.
doesn't have a translation of WordPress, it will never be successful in that locale. You three, English is most likely your first language that you use on a day-to-day.
Yep.
For you, it doesn't matter if something stays untranslated. For Dutch people, we're relatively okay with English, but there's a large portion that still would like to see it in Dutch. And we're very comfortable with English as a country. And then the scale goes down very rapidly into languages, locales, countries, regions that just are not comfortable with WordPress. If you don't have translations there, it's never going to work. It's never going to grow. Period. Done. I'm just using translation as the example, which is the easiest to grasp because we have an international audience here. But that whole approach of quantifying what a contribution is, again, I don't want to swear on this show, but
So,
Go on,
well,
Birgit.
I think that it's not any contribution that is qualified in that, because Josefa wanted to distinguish between the self-sponsored contributors or the contributors that do it on the side, to those who put the Five for the Futures on their flag, the corporations that put that on their flag. And that's one thing. The other, so it's not which contribution is more or less. It's more like those who volunteer and are not sponsored are equally or even more valued in my thing, because they do it on their own time. Yeah, and it's and that article was not about that. Yeah, that is kind of something that I wanted to put there, because I know that a lot of contributors were kind of hurt in kind of seeing what's meant to be a accountable, meaning a record keeping about it, or not, that values their contribution or not. Every contribution is valued very highly, and especially those that do it on their own time, on their own weekends, on their own, at night when the kids are asleep. What the Five for the Future is that corporations like Yoast, like GoDaddy, like Bluehost, or now Newfold, are kind of also putting that on their flag, that they are contributing. And that contribution right now is only counted as core contribution. So when you see some Jean-Baptiste Audras did a review of the 6.0 contributions to core, and you see the bubbles. I don't know, you probably have all
I
seen the
remember. Yeah.
graphics there.
Yep.
Yeah. And then there is an agency that has 20 people, has as much contributions to 6.0 as GoDaddy with 8,000 people. So that's kind of the topic about it. It's not what the a translator who has been translating for 10 years into Japanese is not valued just because they're not talked in this article. So that's one thing. The other part is that WordPress.org only has a few hooks where those contributions can be counted. Yeah, so when you look at your activities on your profile, WordPress.org or profiles.wordpress.org, and then your username, there's an activity point, and there are the forum posts in there, there are your plugins in there, and all your themes. And right now, they're all, if you contribute to photos, that is counted. And then there is also what was the other one? Oh, when you get props, and that's also defining props means there is a channel in. So props, people get props for contributing comment to a track ticket. So there, somebody reported a bug, and there's a discussion about how to figure that out. The commit person that creates the patch gets the props on on the release, but they are also co-authors for it, and those are the commenters, and they are also getting props for the release. But they're in a line, in a text line. They are not recorded in this activity tab. So it was more a technical kind of thing that Josefa was kind of pointing out. What are the things that we can record on WordPress.org that can be counted? So it was not so much the intrinsic value of a contribution. It was more there are other touch points of contributors on WordPress.core that can be counted. And the meta team is trying to figure that out.
Yeah,
How
I
to
think
do that.
I'll share my screen again. It's worked. So this I think was the bit that I sort of took away. It was this sort of trying to figure out what a contribution for Five for the Future is, and it was mentioned about grey areas. The fact that we've got these things which we're not quite sure where to put that box. So, for example, I'll just read. But other contributors are in. I'll go back. Some contributions are easy to sort through and agree on. We see them happening. Props are given with them already, and we understand how to make that work better. So, for example, contributions of code to core, amongst other things like you can see them on the screen. But and I'm down here now, but other contributions are in a grey area. For those, it's important to look not only at whether to move WordPress forward, but whether it helps the community of contributors work in a sustainable way and whether the contributions can be done consistently over time. So, for example, would these things be included? Maintaining WordPress.org, WordCamp.org, the Rosetta Network, adding or deleting official documentation, training, communication, speaking, WordPress meetups, WordCamps, maintaining or moderating official repos, and it goes on and on and on. And so this was the bit that I took away from it, that how on earth do you quantify all of that, and how do you figure out, well, when is it time for you to get the prop or not? And Courtney's put a comment in here. Let's have a little look. She says, for context, in the tallies of props, I got a value of 1 for over 60 hours effort specifically to 6.0 release as a person that made a typo correction on a Gutenberg plugin changelog. Props, she says, props or value for contributing needs to extend beyond core, and presumably some of the things that I just mentioned written in that article might fit the bill. Yeah.
Totally.
I think I do too. So I think this whole question, what makes a contribution of a Five to the Future contribution? I think the question is, what does the mechanism that we are calling currently Five to the Future, how should that work? Needs to be entirely separated from what is contributing. And right now it's the mix of two, which makes it, which is why I said what I said.
Yeah.
Because it's now conflating different approaches and ideas and things, which if you glance through it, you'll go like, So if I speak, it's now if I speak at a meetup, it's now a question if that's a contribution or not. What does that mean?
It's not a question.
No, I mean, but you can't.
There is no record of it. There's no record.
There is. There is.
Well, the meetup has a record, but you cannot have 700 volunteers keep track of all the speakers for 12 meetups and put it somewhere in data entry. So
not manually.
Yeah, that's kind of, there's some technology involved, and there's some volunteers.
But that's a different discussion.
But I totally agree with you. Yeah, the Five for the Future contributions should be separately tallied up. But the tally also is not so much how much hours it is. Yeah, I mean, Courtney also got the documentation team badge. Yeah, there's a whole set of badges that are also there, and it's nothing of it will be completely. Yeah, I worked for a nonprofit and was a president of a nonprofit, and volunteer contributions is really, really hard to value. And the person who went for the first time through the process and got a WordPress account, got a GitHub account, changed the typo on that's a whole process that if you don't do it once, the first time, you will never be able to start out your contribution. And is that higher or less? Of course, the hours paid. But on the other hand, I, as a full-time contributor, I get paid. So it's not a volunteer contribution. It's my job. It's a totally different angle there
Yeah.
that
So
people, and
it's
what I see on automatic is that we are doing some things that volunteers will never do. Yeah, the day-to-day administration of a certain things. Yeah, or what Courtney does. Yeah, the day-to-day administration on the training team. There are things that no volunteer will ever do or shoot themselves in the head when they have to do it. Yeah, that also need to be distributed, and it's hard to quantify those because they are not counted. They are not discounted, but they are not in the same value or in the same realm of additional effort by the person who gives them.
I've decided now Mark should be in charge. Sorry, Remkus. Mark's
I
now
know where your
because he's
house
been
lives.
sitting there very patiently, just taking it all in.
I have been taking it all.
This
in.
is hard, isn't it? Eh?
It is. It's a tricky one. It's opened up a can of worms, I think.
Yeah.
I remember when Matt, well, I guess it wasn't the first time, but he was talking about Five for the Future at the State of the Word. And it made me check myself. And I was like, am I contributing to this by, I have a free light plugin of WS4. Is that me contributing? And then I started doing some photography contribution, and then I get a little badge for that. And I thought, oh, well, there's one way I can contribute. I mean, for me personally, contributing comes more from sponsorship. I try to sponsor events as much as I can, and honestly, really don't get an ROI from it. It's more about contributing to the community and giving back that way. But that's really not contributing to core or anything like that. So I think that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's the whole contributing to core is what it's called for most people. It's contributing to the WordPress project is what it should be.
Yeah, that's
WordPress
a subtle yet dramatic difference, isn't it? If we and just saying contributing to WordPress doesn't cut it either, because I think the default assumption for that is the code, right? Everybody thinks, oh, that's the code.
The
as
WordPress
opposed to
project.
I like your definition there, whatever it was, contributing to the WordPress project. Or
But, I would hope as a sponsor that I enable contributor day. We enable the fact that event can take place, and as a result of that, contribution takes place. It's the sponsors that are paying for the venue, and as you said, can be incredibly expensive. I'm a small part of that compared to the bigger sponsors, but it's all relative. We give what we can. But I for me personally, I don't really need a Five for the Future badge on my product in order for it to sell.
Right.
I know for other companies that would be a lot more valuable to show that they're giving back. But I do think I don't know. I think the sponsorship, the amount of money some of these corporations pump into these WordPress, these WordCamp events is absolutely immense.
Hey, here's a random question, and please don't take this as me the way this may sound. Would like this show, would this be would this
absolutely?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I know. I'm genuinely interested because I enjoy doing this. I don't really know if it contributes.
We're having a discussion, right? We're talking about topics that are in a direct relationship to the WordPress project.
Yeah. Okay.
And maybe there's not a direct line of some words came out of Nathan and look at now, the project is better.
No, that's never going to happen.
Thank you. But what it might spark is someone more intelligent picking that up and going, I can really make this work.
Yeah, I didn't understand what Nathan said, but I understood what Mark said.
Exactly.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah. I'll tell you what, there's a whole raft of people who are more intelligent than Nathan.
This bit will get a clip from the final version, right?
Yeah, you can edit that bit down. Okay, so Maya, sorry. I always get your name one. I don't know why I can't decide on one way to pronounce your name. She has said it's not about the count; it's about the effort and positive intentions. Very nice point. And contributions, he goes on to say, should be considered as gift. It's not about the value, but the time spent to do good. That's interesting. I didn't intend for this topic to dominate, but it really has actually. We spent quite a long time on it. It's not going to coalesce in the short term, I would imagine, and the scope is going to be vast. But it would be nice to have a box to put, like if you're working on core, it goes in that box, and if you're working on making blog posts, it goes in that box, and just sort of figuring out where you fit in the piece, and it could be done, I'm sure.
Yeah. What gets me most of the time in that discussion is that the one that are hurt by that discussion because they don't seem to be valued, or the freelancers that are self-employed that are contributing outside there, or those that's the contributing is not their paid job. They feel they're not doing enough, and let me tell you, you are enough. The Five for the Future discussion is never about the volunteers that do go beyond their normal day-to-day operations. It's about the companies that make profit of the open source work that is being done. And the giving back is something that would help sustain the project. And that's where this is about. I'm not talking as an automatic person right now. I have been volunteering or contributing to WordPress in seen and unseen places for 6 years before I actually was hired by Automatic to be a full-time sponsor. But that was on top of working with client. That was on top with anything else. But I was never really the Five for the Future is the idea that anybody who makes profit off of WordPress could contribute back to one of the teams, and help team organization or team just do the work on the team, and it's the companies that are be it Newfound, be it GoDaddy, be it WP Engine, be it Automatic, be it Yoast, and some of the agencies, 10up or Human Made, they all contribute back. But that is to sustain their own business. Yeah, that's kind of the mindset around. Should be a mindset around it. It's not so much what is counted. It's kind of my job to to keep it sustainable. Yeah. So I'm not quite sure. And yeah, if that's understood, I always really, it hurts my heart to see people who have been doing their own business and they're contributing to WordPress and they're hurt because other people they don't see it's a discussion that they are not enough. And I really want to tell people, you are enough, you do what you do, and it's very valued.
Yeah. Courtney has just said, as a team rep, I want to elevate the contributions of the whole team more. As a sponsored person, if we have a value established, is my contribution measured fairly versus other contributions? Tricky. I think that is the tricky bit. It's trying to figure out where the scales tip. Is a contribution in some form worth, I don't know, 2x of a different kind of contribution, and as soon as you open up that can of worms, then that's impossible to circle to square. I think. But thank you. I didn't intend for this bit to go on for so long. No. It's really interesting. We did it previously, but we never went into it on that level. But I just think that was a really nice topic to cover. Very quickly, I did an interview with Daisy Olson. In much the same way that I did with Remkus. If you haven't heard that, episode 30 of the Tavern podcast is with Remkus, all about WordCamp Europe. And then we had one with Matt last week, a couple of weeks ago. And then we've got this one this week with Daisy Olson, and it fits beautifully into today's discussion because we were talking about block themes. She basically tries to make the case for why now is a good time to start playing. She doesn't make the case for now is the time to only use block themes. It's like dip your toes in the water, see what's what, see how it's built, and maybe you can start to use them in the near future if it's mission critical. Perhaps not quite yet, but have a play. So that was a nice podcast episode.
Mhm.
This one came across my radar this week. This is, sorry about that. This is to say that Yoast and Bertha, we had Andrew Palmer on not that long ago, and he's behind Bertha, which is an AI. It's a plugin which inserts. Think Grammarly, I think, is the best way. There's like a little icon which goes everywhere you can type text in WordPress, and you can sort of pick what style you want for the writing to be, whether you want it to be long, short, kind of advertisey. I think they've even got like pirate and all that sort of silliness in there as well. But the point being that you can help yourself write. And they've collaborated in a sort of media deal, I believe, with Bertha. And to be honest with you, when the whole AI writing thing started, I was thinking that the SEO companies wouldn't probably want to go near it, because my assumption at the time was that it's not going to create things which are authentic, which people are going to want to read, and so on. I've kind of reevaluated that now. The more I see people using it, the more it feels to me like people are using it as a building block, like a starting point. And instead of saying, okay, Bertha, write me 10,000 words and I'll publish it, it's more, Bertha, give me some ideas of the style that I might like to adopt. So anyway,
this is something that I recognized very, very early on with Bertha that would be a good implementation for it. People hate writing content for SEO behind the scenes, meta descriptions, titles, and things like that. And this gives you a great starting point for that. And I think there was kind of initially a lot of pushback with AI in writing, and people thinking, this is going to take over my job and I'm not going to have to write blogs anymore. But really, it's used more of a tool just to give you a foundation to work with, and then you build on that.
It's an enrichment, not a replacement.
Yeah. I think, and I think that's my mistake. Right at the beginning, I thought that these things were being touted as a replacement, and now I see it for what it is. It's
so
like
there's versions of AI that play with text that have the potential to replace.
Yeah.
But SEO in some cases allows you to have variances of text and still rank with that. And if the difference between the two is large enough and the separate texts are unique enough, there's AI, and Bertha is part of that can actually help you write that sort of content.
There was a really nice, it's unavailable now, but we had the Page Builder Summit a couple of weeks ago, and Tom Carr from AB Split Test, he came up with a really nice use case for it. And that was, if you just, AB split testing is kind of, it's not the most glamorous thing to spend your time doing, coming up with variants of basically the same sentence. And so he just gave it to Bertha. And he just pressed the button and he just looked at it and thought, do I like that? No. Click again. Do I like that? Yeah, I like that. I would never have written that. And then it's there, it's done. And so you can create 3 or 4 different split tests, A, B, C, D, and you didn't really have to apply much thought. The AI was totally capable of doing that job. But so you're right, Remkus. That's interesting. Anyway, Yoast, Bertha AI, quite a nice collaboration. Perfect fit, really, I guess. SEO, Yoast, Bertha, AI. We'll see where this goes. Have any of you played with DALL-E? Okay, when we finish this call, all of you go and Google DALL-E, DALL space E, and it's an AI for creating images. And you basically, so on the website, there's no implementation of it. You have to actually, I guess, compile it and put it somewhere. But the principle is that you literally say, make me an image of a frog dressed as Santa holding a spoon.
This is scarily good.
And it does it. Yeah. And it totally does it. And then you say, give me 4 variations of the same thing.
Give me a Hanson version of Nathan.
No, it's not that good.
It has limits.
not that good. But the principle there, it's amazing. And again, that kind of stuff really concerned me. And then I just thought, actually, it's quite empowering on some level as well. Obviously, if you get into the deep fakes and somebody says, make me a video of Barack Obama saying these chilling words, that's not good. But if you enable a child to be able to create a picture of Santa, I don't know, wearing a Spider-Man costume because they want to stick it on their Christmas cards or something, that's just fun. The difficulty, I guess, is judging where the boundaries between scary and cool are, and I'm not sure in my own head I figured that out.
So on the AI side of things, there's many solutions already there that are way beyond what I would say the natural boundary should be. There's AIs that you can talk. Actually, if we were to upload the audio of this podcast, it would pick out our 4 different voices.
Yeah.
And it would generate a voice. If I give it a text-based input, it would just make that voice my voice.
I've done it. I've got an app called Descript, which I use, and it does exactly that. And I will, when this podcast episode is finished, I will send it to Descript, and it will say, "Here's a bit of here's something. Who's this?" And I'll say, "Well, that's Mark." And then it will label everything as Mark that's Mark, and Birgit will get labeled. And I'm not going to label you, Remkus, because I'm just
the rest.
That's right. I'm just going to leave it blank.
That's
blank.
Fine.
Blank was here.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And then it'll, but you get the point. And you're right. You can start typing. So you could say in my voice, "Hello there." There's definite limits on what they allow you to do.
Yeah. There's restrictions, but
they're just
the contractual
restrictions. The technical capability is there. Interestingly, I don't know if Andrew is behind Bertha. He said it's coming to Bertha soon. Andrew, do you mean the image thing, the DALL-E thing? Because if that's really interesting to me,
or the voice,
I don't know when he added that in, whether we'd got onto Andrew, clear that up for us. What are you meaning by that? Okay.
And while Andrew is here, I have a feature request.
Oh, go on.
For it.
One is that I give it a link and it summarizes that. But that page for me in 1 paragraph or 2 paragraphs, depending on what. Yes, that would be really good.
Interesting.
That would be useful for a meta description.
Right. So that's one thing. The other thing would be, but it's right now the plugin is only for my site, but I want to have a summary from somebody else's.
Oh, I see. Feed in any random URL and get a summary back. Got it.
So that's essentially Cliff Notes.
Cliff Notes, is that an app or is that just a term?
No. Cliff Notes is a term of. So when I lived in the United States and there were mandatory books that I had to read, and if I didn't have time, I would buy the Cliff Notes version, which essentially is the digestive version of what that book is about. It gives you all the details. It doesn't give you, I would say, probably 85-90% of the gist of it.
Yeah.
And the rest is just, too long didn't read.
Yeah.
But essentially, what Birgit is asking is, I want to Cliff Note any site, any URL.
Right. Have you heard of it's an
audio? Oh, Andrew's going to add it.
Yeah, he says image manipulation. Yeah, great suggestion, Bertha. Nice. Okay.
Yeah,
look,
I'm not Bertha.
Something actually happened on the show of enormous consequence. That's brilliant.
See? This is contribution.
There you go. Can I have a prop now? One prop. Whatever that looks like. Can I have it in physical form? I want a little cube. What was I going to say there? I was going to say something and now it's gone out of my head. Andrew, you've made me forget what it was that I was going to say. Anyway, there you go. Dead cool. No, it's gone. It has truly gone. Right, back to things. We've got very little time. We've got about 12 minutes and a few extra bits to get through. No crashes so far. We're doing good. Okay, let's just do this one quickly because there's not a lot of news about it. It's just a thing. Classic Press was a fork of WordPress, which occurred when 5.0 came out. There was a lot of people who were very upset about Gutenberg being put into core. So they decided they wanted to keep WordPress with the tiny MCE classic editor. So they created Classic Press, and it's been going ever since then. However, it looks like it's in real trouble because there's been a little bit of, let me use the word infighting. That's probably over dramatizing it, but there's been people having to step down because they now feel that the project isn't going where it's wanting to go, and it's financially doesn't look particularly viable. So anyway, that's that. If you're into classic press, it looks like they need your help and support if you want to do that.
This is
Okay.
always
Oh,
been a
I know what I
project-
was going to say, Remkus. I know
Oh,
what I was going to say. Have
jeez.
you heard of the audio app called Blinkist?
Yes, I have.
So that's your Cliff Notes in a. I mean, you don't even need to read. You can just get a book. It's non-fiction books, so they might take, I don't know, some difficult to understand philosophy book, and they'll try to boil it. And I think their target time is about 3 minutes or something like that. But yeah, anyway, there was that. Alrighty, ready. I'm just going to move on from that one, if that's all right. So this is the piece that we were talking about earlier. Remkus dropped into this piece a little bit, and it's just to say that WordPress is now at 64.2% of CMS market share. We often hear the 42 or whatever it is percent of the web, but perhaps a more interesting statistic is what people are. So given 100% of the websites that are using CMSs, what are they using? And it looks like a full 64.2% are using WordPress. It's the green one there that you can see on the screen, just for interest's sake. Shopify comes in second at 6.3, which is, I don't know if that's growth or stagnation or decline, but that's still quite a lot considering it's, e-commerce only. Wix 3.4, Squarespace at 3. I seem to remember that Wix and Squarespace were the other way around at some point. Joomla at 2.5, Drupal at 1.8. My beloved Drupal that I was so pleased to use for so many years, which was like at the sort of 7 or 8% mark for ages, now at 1.8. And then we go down. Google Systems, what would that be?
Google Sites?
Google
but
Sites.
what?
They had their own CMS.
Okay. And this one surprised me because I keep hearing about Webflow and how disruptive Webflow is and how amazing it is. So when I saw this, I was expecting Webflow's numbers to be significantly higher than just under 1%. It's 0.9%. Maybe that's terrific growth. I don't know. But Webflow at 0.9. So still a reason to be quietly confident. Have you got anything with that, or should we just move on?
What's incredible with this is the marketing budgets behind Wix and Shopify are just immense,
through the roof.
Yeah, if you look at their annual reports and you see what they're investing in marketing and overall as a company, and they're just, I mean, honestly, not scratching the surface with WordPress still, which I think is real testament to where we are.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that, Mark. I'm going to move on because we really are running out of time. Last week we talked about the fact that there was a lawsuit in Germany. A German court decided that a website which had used a Google font which came out of Google CDN, which therefore consumed the IP address of anybody visiting that website, that was unlawful and it broke the GDPR. And so now we're getting into a discussion of, okay, well, this needs to be dealt with. What are we going to do? And it turns out that a very easy solution would simply be, if you really want to use Google fonts, and why not? They're free and there's lots of them. You can basically store them locally and queue them in that way instead of from the CDN, Google CDN. And so we need some sort of guidance on how theme authors need to be implementing this going forward. In pretty much every theme that I'm using, and there's only a handful, like 2 or 3, they obviously saw this problem coming a long time ago because there's just the tick box, somewhere in the settings which says use local Google fonts, and you tick the box. And I don't know what they're doing in the background, but presumably downloading it because it's free to download the font. You just go to the website and download it. So anyway, there's that. And then Mark helpfully found this, which is GDPR friendly fonts. And it looks like Andrew Palmer's face is on here. Andrew, you're getting a right old airing today. And Mark, do you know how this works? Or
it's just a piece of software you can install, and what it'll do is let you choose which fonts you're using on your website. You can choose which what weight of fonts you want to download, and it kind of does the job for you. There is a little bit of manual processing with it, but I just thought it was a helpful tool to help people get those fonts downloaded and installed on their themes.
Nice.
It's something we should have been doing all along anyway, because it's a huge performance improvement if you store it locally and use that. So the OMFG plugin out there does essentially a version of what Andrew's. Not trying to take away your thunder, Andrew, but just want to point out there are more solutions who have been doing this from performance point of view.
Mhm.
OMFG. I love it. That's great. Okay, so anyway, just be mindful. And the article, I'll put it in the show notes, which will come out tomorrow.
OMGF, is it? It's
OMG. Thank you. This is on make.wordpress.org, and I'll link it in the show notes tomorrow. Okay, good. Right. Birgit.
Yes.
Tell us. Okay, so quick caveat. Justin Tadlock, you've got him over on the Gutenberg Times now. Very nice.
Yeah, well, no, not as a full-time job or something like that, but he had a wonderful plugin just put into the repo, or it was is now available in the repo. There's one problem that they had with FSE, and that was a major pain point that he also saw in the support forums, and that was that the legacy widget that you could use in the blog post and page editor was not available in the site editor where you actually wanted to add widgets to templates or template parts. So what he did was write a plugin for that. So now you can use your the widget that are from third-party plugins or from different custom post types that you wanted to put also in the footer or in the sidebar or in the header, that you now can do that, because even and the plugin developers that haven't switched over to making part of the widgets also into blocks, that still you can use those plugins. And that, I think, is a great effort to bridge the gap or the migration path for people who want to go from classic to a full site editing or to a hybrid system where they can edit parts of the site but not other parts. So I asked him if he wants to put a little blog post together so we have it on the Gutenberg Times and can refer to it.
It's a godsend.
It's such a. In many ways, when I was reading this, I was thinking, "Oh yeah, that's
we're
totally needed, right? That's like 100%.
We're going to be
needed.
in hybrid mode for so long.
Yeah.
And widgets and navigation, because there's also a block. Sorry, there's also a plugin that does this just for the menu block.
Right. You can keep the old menus.
And you want to, because the current system is just not workable.
Yeah.
But this essentially supersedes this, because this allows everything.
Mm-hmm.
He's very humble, Mr. Tadlock, because he does say, he sort of copied and pasted some code. He says, when I say I built a solution, what I really mean is that I copied the code from some existing documentation in the developer handbook. Very nice. Well played.
That's Justin now.
Yeah, that's nice. So this is cool. In many ways, you're hybrid mode. I like the idea of that. I like the idea of a three-way toggle, like classic, hybrid, and full site editing. That seems like that could be a much needed thing.
Actually, Anne McCarthy was talking about the different migration paths, and with the theme developers around WordPress, there was also a fourth one. It's called the universal theme that does it both. It does full site editing when you want to do it, and it does a whole classic thing when you want to do it in classic, and it actually toggles on and off also the customizer. So it's kind of classic, it's hybrid, that you just have certain features from FSE, like the theme JSON or template parts or something like that, and then the universal theme that can both, and then the full site editing theme. So those are the four themes we're talking about. right now. And I like that Matthias actually said on the Gutenberg Changelog podcast, when I asked him, is that the new way? And said, well, actually, what's going to happen is that some of the features at FSE are going to just be opened up for the classic themes. And then theme developers can augment their classic themes to incorporate some of the features of full set editing into an existing theme. And I think that's a better way to do it than say, oh, this is the new way and the old way doesn't go any, is going to be discontinued, which is not the case.
Yeah.
Because there is a backwards compatibility promise there from WordPress. And there's also a lot of people will still use it. And it's working fine for a lot of sites. So I think FSE is for those who want to design their own websites or are not code-based developers and all that. So there are quite a few things.
Andrew's making the point that Munir Kamal is indeed doing some amazing stuff around Gutenberg. Yeah, he really, really is. It's astonishing what seemingly him can do. Right, we got very, 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 very little time, so I'm just going to raise this one. If you've got $50,000 burning a hole in your pocket and you would like to buy a WordPress media empire, you can acquire
WP Lift.
WP Lift, for $50,000. They have there it is on. There you go.
It sold for $200K a couple of years back.
Oh, so it's gone down a lot, has it?
Substantially.
I think there's a buy it now button for $200K if you scroll down.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay. Oh,
Or
yeah,
you
look,
want
buy
their
it now
money
for
back,
200K. I approached Flipper about WP builds, and they said about 80 pence would be the
seems high.
I thought that was pretty bullish, actually. I thought that was pretty, I was happy for 20.
Did you have a buy it now button for $2?
Well, it seems a little steep, to be honest, Mark. $2. Sell it to you for £1. We'll talk after the call. £50,000. Yeah, $50,000.
Wow.
Anyway, it's just an interesting thing that is being sold. Yeah. Give you a quid, says Mark. Okay. I'll take your quid. I'll bite your hand off. Right, and then last but by no means least, and I promise I didn't put this in the rundown. This was Mark, but it's a good cause, right? We've got a swag shop over at. Well, do you want to introduce it quickly, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, if you've got some money to give to charity, give it directly to Big Orange Heart. Obviously, a great organisation. But if you want a WP Builds mug or cap or T-shirt, which I did, so I did this.
Can I just say? Mug.
And I did. Yeah, I do have a mug, and I drink coffee from it frequently.
Yeah, we donate. We give all the money. It's Printful. It's that online service. It's what do they call it? Some drop shipping type thing. So whatever you make, we just forward the moolah on. So you can buy mugs, T-shirts, caps, and we'll give the money to the Big Orange Heart. So right, we've overrun. I'm really sorry about that.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It just sits there, and occasionally somebody comes along and buys a mug. Like, I'm going to use that so often. I love that. Go on, your mug. That's it. That's all we've got time for. We've overrun. I've got to go and collect children from school ever so soon, so we can't go on for too much longer. Just thank you to okay. Everybody, we have to do the hand thing. We know about this, right? Thank you. That's brilliant. Give us a smile. That's great. But also, right, I've never done this. Let's try this. All of us, right? When I say somebody's name, everybody's got to point to that person except the person immediately without any thought, all right? So, you cheat, Remkus. Look, he's having a practice. Right, okay, point at Remkus. God, got it. Okay, point at Birgit. Yay! And point at Mark. I feel pretty proud of myself. There's a nice way to end. We'll be back next week, episode number 216, something like that. But thank you very much for watching. Thank you for commenting.
Thank you so much.
Have a good week. Take it easy.
Thanks for having us again.
Thank